Welcome back into RK Dub on this Tuesday morning. Austin Price coming up here in just a second here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Going to talk to him a little bit about what's been going on in the transfer portal. There's been a lot of noise around the Vols program. I know with earlier this week, Ramon, when there was all the circulation going on about Nico Iamaleava and possibly being a little flirty with Miami. I mean, were you guys ever nervous that could be a real thing?
No, because his dad came out and said, "You bleepers are lying."
Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, Pops shut that down. Now, there's probably somebody that reached out and wanted to have a conversation with him. I mean, there's always that. I mean, we saw it was reported allegedly that there was a player from Alabama that hopped in a portal because they said Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, hey, say, you can get this from us if you just hop in a portal and come over. I don't doubt it. Like, it's one thing to deny publicly, but privately, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. His pop said, no, we ain't got no time to be doing those types of things. And I feel him. When you busy and locked in, there is no time for much, okay? But his dad said they're all Vol. As I know right now, the portal is closed down. So I was glad to see his pops kind of dead that situation. It was fascinating to see. I know, and here's the thing too. That was Vol Twitter just in its prime, just finding ways to just be so bad and negative. I think still this fan base is at a point where you're waiting on the ball to drop, and sometimes just be in the moment. Nico seems to be secure.
Joining us now, as he does every Tuesday, our good friend Austin Price of VolQuest. Austin, how are you doing? And Happy New Year's Eve.
Happy New Year's Eve, everybody. I'm doing well.
Good.
Well, I was just talking to Ramon on how Vol Twitter is been blowing up this week. Give us the state right now of the transfer situation, the transfer portal. What's the latest here going into the new year?
Everybody's just kind of waiting on Mike Mathews and kind of what decision he's going to make. He requested his papers and, filled them out, I believe. And, when will he go in the portal? Does he request to come out of the portal? He's been talking to Josh Heupel and the Tennessee staff a lot the last, 48 hours or so. And, we'll see what happens. Tennessee has 48 hours to put him in from the moment he fills out the paperwork, turns it in, and then watches what is like a portal, kind of like Portal 101. There's a video you have to watch. So once he completes all that, and they have 48 hours to put him in. So it wasn't as simple as just 48 hours from Saturday night. And then you got to factor in the holiday, which is, tomorrow. And so, if he doesn't request to have his name pulled out, you're probably looking at, probably Thursday or so before he would go into the transfer portal officially, which would make him a fair game for every school in the country to contact. So it'll be interesting to see what he does over the next 24, 36 hours. And if he decides to go in, I would say the chances of him coming back are rather slim. And if he decides to pull out, then I think obviously Tennessee would feel good about his chances of coming back.
Austin, when you look at, you said they got to have a conversation. Like, I picture that building, the facility over there, right? Is it just player and coaches having to sit down, or is it mom, dad, representation, agents, and stuff like that are expressing their plans whenever they have these long sit downs to discuss what's next?
Well, I think every kid's different. I think in this instance, it's just mom, dad, and Mike talking with Hype and Kelsey Pope and Joey Halsley and those guys. So, I don't think it's like I said, every situation is different, but in this case, I think it's just, the mom, dad, and Mike that are involved. And I think, in talking to them and, a few others, like it feels like that, there was some unrest about, some of the chatter that was out there about Nico might leave and that's his quarterback. And I think, he was afraid Nico might leave. And so he kind of, probably knee-jerked it a little bit to ask for the papers. But then once you do, enough people start reaching out through back channels, to kind of maybe kind of give you a little bit of pause. So now it's just about, it's almost re-recruiting Mike, so to speak. I know some fans are going to hate that. I get it. I mean, it's a different era. You have to do different things. You have to adjust and adapt. And, arguably nobody's adapted better to the new era than Tennessee's basketball coach, Rick Barnes, who continues to thrive when a lot of people thought he would go the way of, Roy Williams and some of those other college basketball coaches that have since retired. So, for Tennessee football staff, they just have to kind of figure it out. And if Mike doesn't come back, then they've got to hit the portal even harder at receiver.
Austin Price of VolQuest joining us this morning on Arcade Dub. With Boo Carter, I know there were some thoughts that he could enter the transfer portal, but he is announced that he is going to stay, which is a huge news for the Tennessee Volunteers. Why was he looking, though, maybe to transfer?
Well, I think for Boo, he wanted the opportunity to play some offense. I think going back to the recruiting process, I think he wanted that opportunity. But Tennessee just kind of saw him as a defensive guy, and I think Tennessee's saw that Boo's when he's got the ball in his hands, he's pretty special, and so I think he's convinced him, hey, I need a shot on offense, and I think Josh Heupel and company are going to be willing to give him a look there to kind of play both and have a package or whatever, and so I think for Boo, it's more just kind of like, hey, I really want to do this. And, so other schools have kind of back-channeled me. I know I'm talking about back-channels. Everything. Like, that's tampering. Like, well, welcome to college football.
Yeah.
There's no rules right now. It's Katie brought the door, Wild Wild West. So there's been enough schools that have reached out to, him and his family that, told him, hey, you can play both here. You can be Travis Hunter, and so he'll have the chance to do that here this coming fall. He's going to have the chance to play both sides of the ball, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there.
Austin Price of VolQuest on 3 with us this morning. Austin, also out of the portal, man, the Vols seem to be going all in on Zachariah Branch out of USC. How is that recruiting going, man, as far as him and, considering Mike Mathews, how does that look for the Vols, even with Mike Mathews?
Well, I think for Branch, I think the most important thing is he's got to lock in a visit. Like until he locks in a Tennessee visit, he gets to campus, then they're going all in and all that stuff talk is a bit overblown for me. Okay. I think the biggest thing is they're working hard to get him to visit. If he visits, then I think things get real. As of right now, it's just a lot of conversation. So, we'll find out how interested Branch is, and of course he's got his brother as well in the process. There's 2 of them. We'll see how intrigued they are by Tennessee if they take a visit.
No doubt about it. Austin Price with us. Austin, you mentioned something a second ago as far as Nico, the rumblings about, all right, well, maybe he could do something, maybe he wouldn't. His father seemed to shut that down on social media. But in that, the stability of the coaching staff and stuff like that, I had somebody on the NFL level, front office, Austin asked me about wide receivers, coach. Like, there's a lot of wide receivers in this cycle that's hopping into the portal. Is there an issue on that end with Kelsey Pope and how those guys are perceiving him and how they go about, that moving forward, if it is?
I don't know. That's a great question. Obviously, there's some, an Instagram live that's out there. There's some screenshots of a conversation. Now, all these are from players that didn't play a whole lot. And Ramon, as being in the locker room, when you're not playing, how much do you love your position coach?
Yeah, it depends on how they treat me in practice. Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that it's all that. I'm not saying there's not something to it. I just don't know. I just know that, you have to think about, who's doing the talking. Now, if, guys that are starting are doing similar talking, then that's different. So obviously that's something that Tennessee's going to have to combat. Kelsey Pope's going to have to combat it, because that some of these players have decided to go on Instagram Live and complain, and it's not the first time that's happened to a coach. And, plenty of coaches have overcome those type things, and so it's something that I'm sure they'll have to work through over the next little bit. But I think for Kelsey, he's been a guy who's kind of just put his head down and worked since he took the job over 3 years ago for Cody Burns, who went to the NFL and to the Saints. And I think he just is it's just about adapting yourself as a coach and then figuring out everybody's got to look in the mirror and everybody's got to talk to the room and figure out what did or didn't work this year. And I think you have to do that each and every year. With no matter kind of what room you're coaching, quarterbacks, receivers, running backs. I mean, I'm sure Darrell Sims is doing the same thing, or William Inge on defense. Got to just kind of adapt year to year. And so right now I don't have anything pegged as far as coaching changes for Josh Heupel. I said last night in our Monday night chat, I'd be shocked if there's not at least one. Right. Just because there's been one every year he's been here, right? Like, Cody Burns left after year one. Alex Golish left after year two. BJ left after year three, and so did Jerry Mack. And so, to go to the NFL or go to Michigan or whatever. So, you get a couple of guys on expiring contracts on the defensive side of the ball. What happens with them? And I know I've kind of moved around from just the overall wide receiver talk, but that's kind of where we're at with the coaching stuff.
Gotcha.
Austin Price of VolQuest joining us this morning on RK Dub. Clearly, that's going to be a room that they're going to have to revamp, just like they did with the secondary last year, which ended up being a good room when it's all said and done. But in terms of the tight end position, they are going to be bringing back Miles Kitselman. Obviously, he announced he's returning for another season. How could you see his role continuing to evolve there for the Vols?
Well, I mean, he and I just think he's got unlimited potential. I mean, I think he's starting to scratch the surface of how good he can be. He and Ethan Davis will be the 1-2 punch. They were never going to keep all three of Kitselman, Stays, and Davis. So Stays ended up finding himself as kind of the odd man out. And, Kitselman is still a young guy. I don't know if he's turned 22 yet. I mean, he was, when I interviewed him for Volco Confidential, he was still 21 years old. So he had been, through 4 years of college, but it's a guy that started, when he was 17. But he was, I think he might be 22 now. Either way, he's a fresh 22. And so, he would play next year as a 22-year-old. And, I think those are the top things that, when given an opportunity, once Diego Pavia won his deal and frees it up for all these, JUCO guys, I think it was a no-brainer because he had not played that much football. And he really enjoyed himself at Tennessee. And, I think it was pretty much a slam dunk. He and I texted a lot, through the whole Pavia thing. And when Pavia won it, he literally came off, I think it was during bowl practice, I'm pretty sure. And I called him, and he literally came up to practice field and said, "I just saw it. I'm on it."
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Because he wants to come back. He wanted to come back, and
that's cool.
And so, he was excited for another opportunity, and because when I interviewed him, he was like, "Man, I just wish it wasn't so short lived. I wish I'd been here sooner." And then kind of when Pavia won that, it kind of gave him life to get another year, and I know Alec Abelin was super excited to be able to get him back.
That's great.
No doubt. Austin, also, too, man, of course, they've got a couple players, Moe, after the out of the portal as far as the offensive line goes, but you're losing bodies on both sides, either through the draft or through the portal in the trenches. We expect to see a younger group somewhat going into the 25 season?
I think that the overall age of your offensive line will be averaged out as younger.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if they take anybody else out of the portal. But I think there's a real good shot David Sanders is your starting right tackle. As long as he can, mentally handle it. Physically, he's going to, be able to, do certain things that are really, really impressive. I think, he has a good shot to win that spot. Wendell Moy will be a one guard spot. Is William Satterwhite your center? What does Tennessee do there? Hurt will be our left tackle, and then what happens at the other guard spot? Yeah. And so, but I do think the average of the O line will be younger. I don't know how much younger. It could be significantly younger, depending on how many guys. If it's Satterwhite and Sanders and someone else that has been on campus versus another transfer, Moy and Hurd. As a couple of older guys, but heck, Lance Hurd's not that old either. Right. So, you lose Cooper Mays older, Spraggins older, John Campbell he's the oldest, and so you're going to have a younger group, not as much experience on that group.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you saw with, the secondary a year ago, the secondary stuff or the experience stuff is overrated if you have better talent. So, does Tennessee upgrade their talent? I guess time will tell.
He is Austin Price, our good friend of VolQuest, joining us every Tuesday. We appreciate you. Go check him out at volquest.com and his great work that he does there. Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year, Austin.
Hey, Will Bowling. I mean, was he on like the universal vacation plan? I mean, this guy, does he ever work anymore?
I think he's calling. Is it tonight's
That's
He
game?
is. He's
Right?
calling the game.
Yeah.
He's not
But
giving
look,
him a pass.
we don't like facts here, Kayla, okay? we want to pile on, right, Austin?
I mean, all I know is Bob Kessling once called the basketball game and the football game in the same day.
Ooh.
You're telling me Will couldn't have done this show in the morning,
Yeah.
driven the 2.5 hours to Knoxville, called the game tonight, and then driven back through the night and done the show again tomorrow morning? Because I think you absolutely could have.
We don't even have a show tomorrow, Austin.
Don't matter, Kayla.
Well,
we not interested in
No,
facts.
I'm just saying that's easier.
Yeah, correct. Don't let facts get in the way of a good story, Kayla.
We're trying to pile on, Austin. And Danny, just 27, young spring chicken, basically in the sports media world, correct? I mean,
That's right. I mean, in that world, you got to show you're hungry. You got to be willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, once upon a time when I was calling recruits grassroots, just writing recruiting stories for the Maryville Daily Times, you'll love this, Ron. I called it I go to whitepages.com because I didn't have I now have like a
White
database.
Pages.
Look at that. Yeah, go to whitepages.com. I called 17.
Yeah.
There were 17 Stevens in Flower Mound, Texas.
wow.
And on the 17th Stevens, Nick Stevens picked up.
No way.
So,
Nick.
so where there's a will, there's a way. And truly, Will Bowling's just trying to take the easy way out.
Hey, Austin, all I'm telling you is I ain't keeping tabs, but what I'm saying is this. I did Monday night games in Miami, okay, worked the sideline, late game, get back at about 2, 3 in the morning, and guess who was here for work the next day?
I mean, my house has been hit by the flu, Ramon.
The flu.
I've been
Ooh.
been getting very little sleep. Phone went off this morning. I'm like, okay, that's just why I sound like I just woke up, because I have. So I mean, we do what we have to do.
Hey, listen, man. Some people do and some people don't, Austin. We know which one he's in right now. He's a donor.
This is so true. This is so true. And as we know, when Kayla was out and I gave her a hard time, and she probably doesn't know that.
That's all right.
I'm an equal
I've
opportunity.
never taken a week vacation in my whole career, and damn, I was going to take it if it was a free vacation.
Hey, Austin, I'm glad you were able to pile on the Will, man. I hope his call doesn't go well. No, I'm playing. I hope he has a good call tonight.
No, but what I have caused you is to be late for break. So I will see you guys
That's
next
all
week.
right.
The
That's all
holiday
right.
book,
We
Austin,
appreciate
we
you,
good.
Austin. Thank you so much. And Happy New Year again. That is Austin Price of VolQuest joining us like he does every Tuesday. When we return, my goodness, we're already wrapping up hour 3. Like, this is flying by. We're going to take your call, 615-737-1045. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will here on 1045 The Zone.